And every time I'm, giving someone the benefit of the doubt, I'm actually learning to control my emotions and analyze stuff from a third perspective, which is what we're trying to ultimately get to in order to change the way we react to stuff. Because otherwise you'll just keep digging further and further.
Welcome to Focus Focus. Voices leading change.
Here we are with Nick.
Yeah.
Oh man, awesome. First off, thank you for reaching out to us. We share a common unity.
Yeah, there we go.
We were on the Common Unity podcast with Jason and I was with Gabe. You were with Gabe as well? Yeah. Yep. I listened to Gabe as well. Yeah. Two great guys.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously you just told me you ended up hosting part of that too.
Yeah, well, I just became friends with Jason after the podcast, and then sort of Gab too. Gab's come around to my place for playing the racing sim in the garage every couple of years. Yeah. And then when Gab decided he was leaving the podcast, I was like, oh, do you need another host?
Yeah.
And because I really wanted to experience public speaking and also just trying to get the idea out there that we're rolling with at the moment. So.
You're an enthusiastic guy. I mean, I've only known you 10 minutes, but I think there's already the bond in terms of I like to approach life pretty much how you're approaching life.
Yeah.
I think enthusiasm matters. Actually, ironically, we were talking about this in the leadership realm. Authentic enthusiasm is a real key to really keeping people on, or getting them on the walker.
Yeah.
When you walk in and you meet someone, you're like, holy shit, man, fuck, that energy's where I want to be.
Yeah.
It's cool to meet people like you in that space.
Awesome.
Where's that from?
Thank you.
What's it?
It's cultivated, I believe. Because I always had like a passion for life and doing things, but it was never directed. And so it was always, as all teenage sort of boys are, or young humans in general, as we've got the energy and we have the zest, but we don't have any direction for it.
Yes.
Basically just struggled to focus. Is sort of where this all came about, was telling yourself you want to do something, knowing how to do it, but not being able to make yourself do what you know you should do.
So then let's go to the wheelie thing, because I think that's because we're talking and we've made some correlations between like strength training and the wheelie, but reps. And I really like to frame it like it's such a good framework is like getting the reps in. Like I'm a reader and journaler. But I get the reps in on it. My writing has not improved. My handwriting.
That's a hard thing to do.
But you know what I mean. When it comes back down to it, getting the reps in regularly is a real key to it. But let's go to this wheelie journey, because it's such an interesting kind of approach.
Yeah. Oh, it's a really good story.
I'm really looking forward to hearing about this.
There you go. So wheelies were. When I turned 30, I decided to pick some things that I had always told myself I was going to do but had never done, like that focus thing. Wheelies was a thing that I told myself I always wanted to do but had never done, and then started learning them sort of as an adult, as physical proof that you can, an old dog can learn new tricks. And every time I'm doing wheelies on my bike now, which is all the time because I freaking love doing them, which is crazy. I'm thinking about the conscious, like how you can alter your mind with repetitions. So if you get enough repetitions, your brain creates a map, and then you're eventually doing it on autopilot. And so it doesn't matter how hard the thing is. You look at Formula One drivers, you look at all the pro athletes that are doing insane things with the finer details of motor action, and they're not even consciously thinking about it. Like especially Isle of Man TT, if you've ever watched that. Those guys are tweakers, and they say that you pretty much go blank, and then you just have to let your autonomic nervous system just take over, because you've done enough repetitions of this track, and you know everything from the sound of your bike to the feeling of the road. And then it's the same with the wheelie. When you first start kicking it up, you have no idea what to do. Then you learn to control the back brake. Then you're like, oh, we're on here. And then eventually it's just little tiny tweaks of your hips. And you have the balance and taking all the weight through your shoulders. There's so many funny things that come you would not imagine are in a wheelie. But just doing that and knowing that's the physical representation of all of these mental loops that I'm trying to implant, because those are intangible. And so if you can actually see some physical proof that this stuff does work, which you can all the time anyway, it's just if you're consciously evolving in something, whether it's try and learn juggling or pick up tennis or some sport that's actually difficult to learn over time. And you can just watch the reps do the thing and then know every time I'm being a little bit more patient with my kids, I'm actually becoming more patient.
Yes.
And then every time I'm, giving someone the benefit of the doubt, I'm actually learning to control my emotions and analyze stuff from a third perspective, which is what we're trying to ultimately get to in order to change the way we react to stuff. Because otherwise you'll just keep digging further and further.
Well, it resonates with me because in my own parenting styles, I've got my son Cortez, who I had when I was young, I was 16, and even how I brought, because I wasn't with his mum, so we had our own styles. And I find now I'm more conscious about catching my mum in me. My mum was hard. Very hard. So, for example, if there was a sock left out, it was like World War III. Go pick up the sock, whereas I've recognised that I don't need to be in that way. And one conscious thing that the story I was framing to myself was that them making their own breakfast builds their independence. That was the framing in my head. But actually I realised it was causing more damage and arguments, and the kids were going off to school in the morning either not eating or very upset because we've had an argument about things. And so the framing was like, well, I'm going to make the breakfast for them, and I'm going to actually enjoy the time with them, and we can have actually meaningful and powerful conversations, or just put on loud music and enjoy each other.
That's awesome. I love
and that awareness, though. I wouldn't be able to solve that without the awareness and then the ability to reframe that, and then get the reps in to show me.
There we go.
Yes.
So there's lots of different things that you can apply this to. As far as the looping and the reframing and that, and then it's just having a framework like that to just be able to catch yourself when you've done something too much, like you're too much like your mum, and then you're like, okay, I'm being way too much like my mum, I just need to chill out about the socks, and then rein it in. And so I look at all of our traits that we can recognize as like things on a volume set, those old school with the treble and the bass and the
you always try to play around
winding it up.
How did you get more bass out and without it tweaking out the speaker?
And so like you can think of that as your logic are different things that you can use to tweak the volumes. And so you've thought, no, they need to learn to be disciplined and they need to have a good morning routine. But then you've realized that it's turned up the stress and the worry. And so you're like, oh, well, I need to wind this one back and then turn this one, and then it will bring this one down. Now we're at a better equilibrium. And so it's just finding a way to adjust, find out which volumes need adjusting, and then thoughts that you can put in there to make the adjustments. And so for you, you're like, it's much better for them to be happy than have the house tidy. And then that's your new loop.
Because they can tidy the house in 2 minutes. Ultimately, no matter what success we have in life, the ultimate success is that my children are happy and content and feel like they can not feel stressed in the morning, right? I mean, that's as a husband and a father, you're trying to build the environments as best you can that doesn't ruin them or ruin your marriage. But the awareness piece, and that's not taken away, because my mum taught me some very valuable lessons in life. The methodology probably a little bit flawed in today's world, I would suggest. But ultimately, having the awareness is the key to be able to do the reps. It's doing the reps on the wrong thing actually probably is far more damaging. It's like, do I start doing a wheelie with handstands? Well, no, let's just get the wheelie done first before I start practicing handstands or doing it on a motorbike. It's those sorts of elements. Going back to the wheelie as a construct, though, like there must be a feeling when you get up and you're like, oh, actually, this I'm on.
100%. It's this is going to sound so stupid. No, because as an adult, I would never have thought that learning a wheelie was going to be so fun. And once you start getting it, the buzz of getting it is insane. You come down, your hands are shaking, you've got adrenaline. When the first winter that I was practicing wheelies, I would actually like put a hoodie on and headphones and go out and do wheelie training. Like in the evenings, and like people would be like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, and I would go until I was sweaty mess and put my bike on the side of the road and sit down in the grass and be like, "This is so good. Why does no one else learn wheelies?" Because as soon as you get your first little one and then you come down, it's like, oh, if I just just did this. And then it gets addictive. And then if you're getting from A to B, you're getting exercise, your blood's pumping, so you're filling yourself up with these endorphins that make you feel good. I normally bike to my meetings. I would normally have biked here, but today just wasn't going to be on all the way out here. But there's a lot of loops that I have to make myself do it because I.
So the loop, let's dig in. I love the loop because the narrative of the loop makes a lot of sense to me, but break it down and then let's dig in.
So a loop is basically any thought you consciously implant in a moment that you wouldn't have normally had. So you catch yourself getting frustrated in traffic and then you're like, why do I always choose to focus on that? Like, I could put a good song on my phone. I've got unlimited Spotify, you know, or you catch yourself, you know, reacting to something someone's done quite quickly and you're like, oh, why was I so tense there? And so a loop would be just any thought you can have in a moment to make it not so bad or a little bit better, just to change the outcome. Because like, I'm trying to think of an example that we can use from today, because everything you think to justify is the loop. So for you, you were justifying being strict with your children in the mornings because I need to set up a good routine, and it's independence.
That's what the story that was built from my mum, but also being a teacher. I'd been a teacher, obviously, and the kids I saw that did well at school were the ones who had greater independence, and I justified the output in the morning, even though it eliminated my overarching goal, which is I want my kids to be happy. But the loop.
That's a good word.
Yes.
So the loop is the justification.
Yes.
To an action, and then when but there's lots of them that operate in the background outside of our awareness, because 95% of our thoughts are subconscious, only 5% are conscious, and so when you look at those stats. When you're trying to consciously change yourself, you're only ever using 5% to try and work on 95% that's habitual. And so that's quite difficult and daunting at first, but when you know I just need to get the reps in and play the long game, which are the two main things, then you can look at all of the strategies I need in order to get in the reps and play the long game. And for me, the number one thing that gets in all the reps is having fun or doing it with someone else. So so you got to have fun or do it with someone else.
Gym memberships are good examples of that, or running, right? There's a down the mount on Fridays is the 4:45 run club.
4:45.
4:45 a.m. And I do not do it, but interestingly, I know someone who does it, and he said, I was really nervous about joining. He runs, but I was nervous because he didn't know, am I turning up with mega athletes? But actually, once he realised, he got through a new loop of thinking of, I get to meet people who are interested in this. It's not a group of guys drinking. I know that was important to him. And he was just like, once he got the first loop in of realising it, then he got to add in other loops around performance. Shoes was a big one. So there he was just running with his old Asics, realised that everyone was wearing Hoka shoes, and he was like, okay.
That's what I need.
So then there's other byproduct loops essentially came in. Now he's embedded, and I saw him on Friday. I was down doing some work at the local cafe at 6 a.m. and he was there, and he's kind of like one of the leaders. When 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, he was like the nervous guy going in. But the loop there of the rhetoric he was telling himself was immediately changed once he got in with a group setting there.
He learned that there was other things that came from it, and then as long as he reminded himself of that, that gave him the motivation to keep coming back, and then you keep stacking. And so loops can eventually start stacking onto themselves. Which comes to a cool concept where I reckon that I can tell when someone's going to quit, because there'll be this point where your vision of what you think is possible for when you do the thing has to be stronger than the amount of effort you perceive in getting there. And then, because for him, he's like, I'll just show up and do it once and see what it's like. And then the vision is like, the amount of effort involves nothing, because it's like, a bad morning, who cares?
Yeah.
And so the perceived effort's down here, and the vision is like, I might meet new friends, I might make some, cool contacts that don't drink, because that was what you said was one of his goals. And so then the vision outweighed the effort. But then if he went there and they were all hard out runners, and it was actually really hard, then he's like, oh my God, I need to go and train before I can hang out with these people.
Yes.
The effort would outweigh the vision.
Yes.
And so he would stop. But when he got there, he realized, no, everyone's really accepting and they try and help you. I've made some new friends. The vision stays there.
Yeah, I love that, because conceptually, that's why a lot of people won't start business.
Yeah.
I've got this great idea.
Well, that's why people get out of business once they've started it. Because that's the one that is the classic. Like, you get into business because you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to have some free time. I'm going to...
millions of dollars.
Yeah, millions of dollars. Yeah. And so you have this sick vision, and then the amount of effort involved. All I got to do, like one of my friends is just doing it. He just does it 3 hours a day, or whatever it is, the yarn. And so, but then once you get in there and you realize you've got to do marketing, you've got to learn how to do your GST returns. There's just a bunch of things that come up. And so the vision, once you get into business, always decreases.
Yes.
And then the amount of perceived effort involved always increases. So how do you maintain
You've got half your vision of what you believe you might earn or do.
But that stacks during, throughout the day. This teeter-totters all the time.
I think when you look at some sort of validation into a realm of where you've got a stacked vision already and built from someone around you that's close, that you've seen them do it, and then you
know it's possible.
Yes, you know it's possible, and that's a good one for me. I grew up knowing no one, no one who owned their business. Let alone own their home. I didn't know a doctor or a lawyer or someone in the perceived those realms of perception that we could quantify as being successful. I know it's a bit weird to bring up probably Bill Cosby, but the Dr. Huxtable, that was the perception. Then I remember watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he was a judge, Uncle Phil. It's those realms, and I never knew anyone in that space. And I was lucky enough to go to St. Paul's Collegiate. I got a scholarship to go there, and I got to meet other business people who own business. And it was a fascinating insight from what I'd grown up around to seeing that, seeing what they were doing. And ultimately, when I still know some of those people today, it was a repetition of a similar skill, of a single buy skill set. That allowed them to continue to scale and reap, and that's actually the channel we've followed anyway for ourselves, is that stacking what we're good at. I talk to it as being alleyways. Yeah. Do you walk down your alleyway every day? And I relate that to Kiwis businesses, because we all understand alleyways. Yeah. It gets us to places quicker. We kind of know if we walk it in the dark, part of that curb up there in the middle of the way is a bit off, so you can trip over or roll your ankle. Yeah. There's a dog generally over there. Certain parts of the season, there's sometimes fruit. So you go, oh cool, I can stack and put that in my bag for morning tea. But ultimately, my alleyway is I know it off by heart. I know it can get me there quicker, and I walk it every day. Yeah, nice.
Because having all of that stuff articulated down as to who I am and why I do what I do is really important.
Yes.
It's hard to do. I think it's always evolving. Yep. And I'm still in the process, and it's always changing.
Yes.
But then looping is one thing to me that always stays out and fundamental.
Yep.
Because it's just, can I catch myself in a moment where I'm not I'm not going to bring that up. We'll go because you can apply it to absolutely any situation you're in, irrespective of whether you're in your alleyway or not.
Yes.
So you can just catch yourself in a moment. And one of the key loops that I think everyone should try and learn in their mind is think of 2 reasons that this could potentially be benefiting me. So when you catch yourself dwelling on something that's bad that's happened, maybe, it could be, you're overthinking whether you're being a good parent. Yep. And then you can think of 2 reasons how this could potentially benefit me. And it's like, well, I'm putting lots of thought into it. I'll probably find a good solution. And then you could think of the fact that, if I continuously put this thought in this analysis and actually question myself around what I'm doing here, even though I didn't get it right in this moment, I'll be able to get it right in future moments. And then just those 2 thoughts give you a better feeling. And the ultimate goal of a loop is to give you a better feeling.
Yes.
Because the thing that I always relate it back to is when I feel better, I do better. And I've never met anyone that doesn't agree with that. And so then how do I trick myself into feeling good in the moment so that, just say you're in business, you've just had 3 of your jobs lined up for the next 3 months have just called and cancelled. And so, that's really high stress, but you're about to go into a sales call or whatever it might be. And so how do I now not bring that energy into my sales call? Because
now I can start working with that person immediately.
And so the loops could be, I'm a failure, nothing's going to work.
Yes.
All these 3 people have just cancelled because I'm not good enough. Could be the loop. And but then if you can catch yourself saying that to yourself and be like, no, I've done decades of practice at this. I'm freaking good at what I do. Those people just aren't aligned with what we're trying to achieve. This guy might be perfect for me to be meeting, or this lady, or whoever it might be. And then, just in that moment, you're a different person turning up to the meeting if you've got these loops in place. And you can do it for parenting. But 2 reasons is a really good one for dealing with problems. And then old me is a really, really good one for if you're a parent. And so if you've got young kids and you're waking up at night, you can think in the middle of the night when you're waking up that I've got this really cool one where if you're an 80-year-old man, my next door neighbour invites me over. He's just bought the new Tesla time machine. This is imaginary. And I go around to his house and he goes, look, you can pick the year, but you can't pick the day or the time, and you get 20 minutes. All right. And so I'm like, okay, 2025, boom. Here's me in the night, going to go and tend to my kid. I've got a big day tomorrow. I'm not getting much sleep. But if it's 80-year-old me, how does he think about this? And
well, that's it. The person, there's the people out there that want everything, but the sick man only wants one thing.
Exactly.
Wants their health. And I often talk to it with people when I think about success. I think about if I'm gone tomorrow, what amount of money can I pay to have these conversations? Actually, nothing. When I reinforce the loop in my own head around, and I think the more success we've had, the less I've realised. Well, Naval, I forget his last name. He's so good. He's been on pod. Naval. He talks about in the factors of wanting to have something or not wanting to have something is as good as having something. And in that theory alone, it's like, well, no matter how successful I am, if my kids still love me, then nothing out there really matters. And so my loop, or my wife in that situation. So my loop stays pretty tight on some of those aspects when I take action. Consider, do we build more centres over here? But if that affects me picking up my kids from school, maybe that's not where I want to head.
But these in my mind, these are all redefinitions of the word success itself. Because you define it differently to how I would define it, differently to how everyone else would define it. But it doesn't matter how you define it, you can find more energy to put towards it, and find the energy to steer away from the things you need to steer away. Because we all have vices, and we all have things we need to work on. Because if humans aren't fully evolved.
Isn't it? It's crazy though. Like I'll give you a great example. I used to waste so much time watching rugby league in the weekends. So much time. I'd watch every game. And I love the Warriors, if you can't tell. And all I'd watch now is the Warriors. And when they're out, which is generally before finals, I can't cancel my Sky. And when they come back in, I get my Sky back. That was a conscious thing. I always was broke when I was at uni, but I always had money for Sky. But that was a conscious choice. Social media was another one. I don't... so I got off, or I'm on LinkedIn now again, which I find I can control how much I spend time on there really. But I got off social media in 22 or something, and it's been a revelation. And not because I was caring about what other people were doing. It's just like, if you're going to know what I'm up to, you've probably got my phone number, so I'll probably ring you or text you. It's those sorts of things consciously that I've been aware of, but it has come at a cost through some of the experiences I went through in life that has wisened me up to some of that. You know, being a teenage dad's a good example.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Yeah,
that was
must
hard.
be.
But the loop it gave me, though, Nick, is that is that it? You know, if that's tough, if that was it, like if that was really tough, and then I come through a new situation, I'm like,
that's like comfort zone expanding. Is how I look at that.
It's a hard way to expand to the comfort zone.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But there's no limit to the things you can expand into. Like think of how some people have overcome adversity in the world in general. They've and there's certain things that are outside your comfort zone that as you encounter them more, they just become part of your comfort zone. So dealing with a young child as a teenager is freaking difficult. It's outside everyone's comfort zone, whether you're an adult or a teenager. Yes. And so, but to having that growth, would have made you able to tackle a lot of other things, because it would have given you a lot of resilience and a lot of, there's no argument of why is this happening to me. You're like, I know why. I freaking got carried away.
Yeah, my son too, as well as
a lot of good
going through that. We're very close.
Yeah.
He's 26 now, and that's a part of my life that I still get to reap the reward from, of going through those elements of tough times, and perceived tough at that time. Yeah. Today, I look back and think, far out, you did really well there. Yeah. Especially when I see the man he's become.
That's so cool.
But it's those situations where we do meet people who just can't seem to create a loop around belief, execution. So what are some of the, you've given that two questions, but because you must see it, now that you're aware of it, you must see it.
Yeah, everywhere, with everything that you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. From, like, if you have a habit of biting your fingernails, you can use that as a trigger for your loop, and then come up with some that because I remember when my wife first got pregnant, I remember I was trying to stop biting my fingernails, so every time I catch myself with my fingernails in my mouth, I go, house health baby, shed toys time.
Right.
And then house baby, and then just getting the reps of that to focus me on what do I need to do to create that. And then, within 6 months we've moved out to the country, we've got to shed toys in time.
Yeah.
And so if you just put something into your subconscious and just keep suggesting it, which is what I'm talking about with the loops here, is you're suggesting, hey, let's think about it like this. Hey, let's think about it like this. Hey, and then you just get enough reps in, you eventually start thinking like that, and the cool thing is with that kind of comfort zone expanding stuff is if you just keep finding things that you're not that good at and working on them, you now have the ability to look at more things that you probably weren't willing to look at before. And so your skill of finding things gets better, your skill of looping them into something that benefits you gets better, and then over time, you just combine those into a habit of just catching yourself when you are in moments of stress or high tension or even just low energy.
Yes.
And then being able to turn it around and just knowing I don't need to make it from 0 to positive 100. I just need to make it from to positive 10 or positive 5.
Yeah, I just got to win the next 5 minutes. Yeah.
And every rep counts. And that's why thinking of 2 ways this could possibly benefit me, even though I know I've just made it up, is giving me a 1% feeling a little bit better. And then if I'm annoyed because I need to go get the kids in the night and I've got a big day tomorrow, if I just pretend to be 80-year-old me for a little bit, that's that little bit. And so it's about just continuously stacking. So then when someone goes to you, hey man, do you want to start this business with me? You're like, hells yeah, I'm just going to do one thing every day from now and just keep moving forwards. If I'm enthusiastically charging forwards and I'm learning along the way, I'll continuously grow this comfort zone. And another thing, other than the wheelies that we can go back to that I use this for, which was the biggest fear of mine, was public speaking. Even having this conversation here now used to be the worst thing that my stomach would twist, I'll lose my thoughts. And I can feel myself start to go there now even, but then, there's just so many loops in there being like, bro, you're exactly where you need to be. You're sharing a story. You're trying to connect with people. And this does create more than enough energy for what you need in the day. Because that's the thing that I hate, is seeing people run out of energy or knowing that they don't have enough energy. And that's the only reason why they are angry at their kid or
Yeah.
You know, like certain little things happen is because you just don't have enough energy to deal with
We
it.
have to keep proving to ourselves around some of those elements too. I think, like for me, I carry a lot of peace in my mind in these days. There was a lot more chaos going on in my head when I was younger, built on attachment issues and all sorts of insecurity issues and things that stacked that I allowed to stack and stories I told myself. But ultimately, when you conscious enough to anticipate that might happen in certain situations, i.e. I'm going to go put myself into someone I don't know and try to iterate my story with enough clarity that people can latch on and create their own loops. That's the real power and beauty of exactly what you talk to.
And so I think we don't know that we're doing it as a young teen, and then there's just a certain point where you become aware, you're like, oh, how I think isn't actually how I have to think. I'm still the guy, because there's three, I worked with a hypnotist last week who I made a video with him, and his whole thing was that there's 3 decisions you make in every moment. It was you decide what to focus on, so where to put our attention, then we decide what that means, and then we decide what we're going to do, what action we're going to take because of what we've focused on and what we attached meaning to. And so because of those 3 decisions we make in every moment, there's a real opportunity to add horsepower in the meaning part. Because if you can add meaning and purpose into mundane things, then you can, wake up a box of roses every day because you're finding the purpose and meaning behind, being patient for your kids in the morning. And then so when you're taking them through that breakfast routine, knowing that you're not getting rattled about a couple of things that you've seen because you're just letting the kids have a relaxed morning. And so you can be consciously aware of this as it's unfolding through the day as you practice this. And then now you're like, yeah, I am the kind of person that changes how I am and can do this. And then once you get that feeling, then you do it more often, and then the more you can do it, the more it starts to happen for you, and the more fun you have with it. Because it's like, when you first learn tennis, I don't want to go back there, but tennis is such a hard skill. It's not that fun when you're first playing tennis because you just feel like a dick, and you can't hit the ball clean. But then once you get to the point where you can actually hit the ball clean, you're not so worried about how you're playing, you're just enjoying the game. And so that's the same with this. At first, you're like, you catch yourself, and it's quite easy to go into a dip at first, and I'm almost certain that it's something you have to do. Everyone has to go through it, because once you start becoming aware of your thoughts, and especially the negative ones, as you become aware of them, you start to notice more of them, even if it's the same amount you always had. But because you're becoming aware of them, you're like, shit, I'm actually quite negative. I didn't realize this. But at that point is where you're like, no, I've got this tactic and the skill now where I can turn them around. And it's 1% of stacking, 1% of stacking. And you just keep telling yourself that. And then if you can learn a physical skill like a wheelie or public speaking or something that when every time you do it, you can feel the change or see the change. Then every time I'm being patient in the mornings, or every time and you try and practice that physical thing daily so that you do see very real that this is making a difference, because it's very hard to notice in the day-to-day moments how much more patient you actually are.
It is. The reality is, with a lot of those things like resilience, like patience, like pace, like curiosity, you've got to test them to see. That's the irony of something like resilience. You've got to go and test your resilience. I've gotten heaps more resilient. When was the last challenge you had? Not for years. Or like you're talking about public speaking. So one thing that I've put out that I still haven't had a chance to execute on is I want to do stand-up. I want to go and have a go at doing stand-up. Not that I consider myself real funny. I certainly know how to deliver a story and a punchline, but it's putting me into that speaking channel, because I'm very comfortable public speaking, but being up there with some sort of structure to deliver on has always fascinated me. And I did an earlier podcast with someone who does stand-up, and she's spoken to me about me opening for her. So it's those sorts of realms where I can only test that ability to storytell, grip a crowd in, get them to bite down on what I'm about to say and then deliver still, which is the real challenge. But I will only find that out by being in those situations. But I do love that. Well, okay, Nick, where do we find your mahi? Because obviously this is a great conversation.
Yeah.
Where do we find more of?
So if you just go on nothingbut.everything.co.nz, you'll find everything. And we've also got an app that we've been building called Loop 2.
Awesome.
And it's loop2.xyz.
Yep.
And if you get stuck at all, you can call me or message me personally, because we don't have a ridiculous amount of users. You can actually deal with me personally at the moment.
Yes.
Because we're still struggling trying to lock down a good app. So if anyone's listening that's a good app builder or knows how to produce something that we can actually get our users using properly, we would love that.
Okay, brother, man. I feel like we've got another conversation probably coming in the near future. Look, I love your energy. I appreciate that, and quite frankly, this is something we can all tap into today.
100%.
I think
that's what I want people to take away.
Yeah, it's very clear that you understand, just like I've learned and understood, that sometimes the internal voice is actually not really you.
Yeah.
We have a power to change the narrative on that daily. It's a beautiful message, brother. So appreciate your time.
No, thanks so much for having me on. Sorry if I waffle too much.
No, it's all good. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you taking out the public speaking challenge. And up the wires.
Up the wires.
Shot, brother.
Cheers,
awesome,
bro.
brother.
No, awesome.
Wicked. Cool.